All right, we are recording. We're picking up an MR that we started moving things over to Jest, and we're going to see what happens. I can't seem to close this box. Anyways, all right. So this is MR that Jackie started a month-ish ago. Had some weird pipeline failures and weren't able to start it, but it looks like we're moving something over to Jest. Yeah.
Yes.
And so
and
let's
it
check
seemed
it
pretty
out.
simple at the start. We started with replacing, I think it was it extending the local view, this one? Or we started switching to shallow mount.
Okay. Yeah, let's see. I see we're a little bit behind, so let's rebase. Let's check it out. We'll run it, but then let's also rebase and see what happens too. So here I am not doing anything of importance.
Awesome.
Just get rid of this stuff. Okay,
Bring my headphones back.
let's check this out. Here we go. Am I not in? Oh, I'm not even in the right directory. That's how underprepared I am. Are you all doing anything interesting? Oh, are you guys taking Friday off? Are you all having a 3 to 4 day weekend?
We are, but I actually ended up doing the Easter egg. The Easter bunny came today.
Nice.
You know, there's only so much you can do today.
There you go. Yep.
Is he wearing a mask?
No, the Easter bunny was invisible, but the egg hunt after the Easter bunny already occurred. So now I don't know what to do for the rest of the weekend.
Just FYI, I looked at those pipelines and they look like they failed an artifact load, not for
It was
any reason related to the test. Yeah, it looks like.
Okay, let's check this out then.
And Docker, at least the last one on.
So this is.
It's been failing for weeks. And I kind of gave up on it. I just kept rebasing and.
Okay. Yeah, so one thing to keep in mind now that we have the merged result pipelines is that rebasing will not help anymore because every pipeline is going to be a merged result of master. So even if you rebase, if master's broken, it's broken. What you can do is just trigger a new pipeline run instead of rebasing. But if you're like 500 to 750 commits behind, like you should probably still rebase because I think there's other, when things get stale, like I think other things can still come up.
So if a rebase doesn't fix it, then trigger a fresh pipeline? Was that what you?
If you're like many commits behind, you should probably rebase. If you're not that many commits behind and something unrelated is failing, trigger a new pipeline because rebasing isn't going to help and it's a good thing that all of our pipelines are in sync now, which I think we've had less master failures because of that, but maybe we'll have different experiences. But I'm running this Jest spec. Let's see what happens. Trying to get rid of this. This change.
If this goes well, I remember the next one that I had the question about. So
yeah, it looks like all the Jest ones passed.
Oh, that's great. Then this should be good.
So there is no problem?
Well, let's see what the pipeline failure was.
Yeah, there was three different ones.
It related to the
Karma failed. That's weird. Oh no!
Yeah, it was the artifacts upload, right?
Oh man, but if Karma actually failed, so all right.
But it's Karma, and I deleted a file from the Karma directory.
Yeah, so the thing with Karma, the reason we're leaving Karma is because Karma tests bump into each other. And it's feasible. It's conceivable that removing a Jest spec or removing a Karma spec could cause another Karma spec that was technically dependent on that side effect being left behind to fail. That hopefully is not what's happening, but seems to be the case. So let's see if
So
we
the pipeline summaries don't tell you anything useful. I thought they would at least show the bottom of the failure, but they don't.
what
So where-
pipeline summary. Oh, you mean
Karma.
here?
Okay.
Yeah, when I just looked on the failed jobs tab, that's what I was looking at. And
Hmm.
2 of them were artifact failures, but the Karma one looked like it was too, but it actually wasn't.
Got it. Yeah, I don't really. Oh, you see over here in the failed jobs tab. Yeah, I
Right.
hardly ever visit this page, and I don't know if that's good or bad. I usually just jump to whatever the failure is here
Hmm.
and jump to it from there.
Okay.
But so look, this is some really weird looking stuff.
Right? This is why I brought it, because
VB component, the view merge. Oh, this is some merge request stuff. This is gonna be weird. Let's see what happens. So, and you're saying this is consistently failing. Let's go ahead and try to run this spec.
I mean, I haven't tried it in a couple weeks. I just gave up and said I'd bring it here.
Yeah, that's great. This is a really interesting problem. So let's see what happens. Hopefully, it's just magically resolved itself. That would be nice. But let's.
I've tried that.
You tried the magically resolving itself
Yeah,
solution.
wait a couple days, try it again.
That's awesome. All right.
Some problems fix themselves, like that.
They really do. I think that's what's one of the things that's neat about a project as big as GitLab is some of the shared stuff. Like, oh man, I'm running to the shared issue.
And you might find out months later, oh, that's a magic thing.
Right. All right, let's run this file under Karma and see what happens. This is the one that's failing. If I could recreate the failure locally, that's great. If I can't, it might be a pipeline thing, which is makes me a little nervous because that means our feedback loop is smaller.
Is Karma run order randomized?
That's a really good question. I don't know. It has a so I think it's deterministic. I think if you have the same commit hash, it's going to be deterministic. But it's not. I think it does some sort of optimizations based on what I've selected or not. Like if I have 100
It
direct
has knapsack, you mean?
if I have like in an order a bunch of directories and then I add directory Z at the end, it may put Z in the front. Like I have noticed some things like that. But so this passed by itself. That's great. Let's see what happens if I just run the whole directory.
Oh, because that's what the pipeline's doing.
Yeah, and that's the really scary thing about Karma is Karma tests bump into each other. And that's why we want to leave Karma. Jest tests all run in a sandbox.
Every Jest test runs independently?
The whole file does, not each individual test.
Every file runs, okay.
And so one thing you'll notice with Jest is Jest spawns processes. And I think based on you can like set the level parallelization that you want it to do, whatever. Okay, so this one's passing. I still don't feel great about it, but let's try to dive into maybe what's going on. So it's failing to resolve this async component, merge train position indicator. Let's see what happens if we just type that in here. Oh yeah. Okay.
And it's importing something I deleted? Is that its problem?
Well, you only have one file change here, so I don't think.
Or no, that file has not been moved yet.
Yeah.
Right.
Something I see here. Merge train position indicator. The MR widget pipeline container is the one that's failing here. Okay. Is this Karma or Karma FOSS job? It looks like it's just the Karma job. We may want to try to move this job, this spec over as well. That might be the most safest thing to do, and also gives us a benefit of. So here's where I'm at.
Okay.
I can't feasibly recreate this locally. We could try to keep picking at it and debugging what's actually going on here, but that's going to take some time. I know we could solve this if we just move this back over to Jest. If this is the deterministic failure, then let's just move this back over to Jest as well. And
Okay, which spec can you, which additionally move over a second?
Yeah, this one is that failing. This one, then karma, which is failing. Let's see if we can move this one over as well. So for some reason, this one is loading this. Oh, and this is gonna be a good one. This one is loading this really large MR widget options thing. I can see if I can recreate it by just running all of the karma suite. We can try that out.
Yeah, so I was about to try locally.
Yeah, it'll take a minute.
Can you just keep going with what you were, your thought? Because
yeah,
I get it, but
nope. So the point is, this is failing. This failure popped up probably because it's very closely related to something, some sort of side effect that is being left behind the other spec, because this is what karma specs can do. I don't really know what's going on. We could totally take time and try to dive into what's specifically happening here, but
and how did you figure out which spec to bring along? Which is the one that you?
I searched for this. This is the top level description of the spec that's failing.
Oh, you looked for the spec that's failing, and you're guessing we take that one with it, it won't conflict. Got it. Yep. Okay, that actually makes some sense. Okay.
Cool. Then I'm gonna stop running karma because it'll take like 5 minutes. And I was like, I don't have any patience.
I'm still running it. I'll tell you if it fails.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thanks, Chad. So yeah, let's try to move this over. I think that'll be fun too. So let's see what happens there. But before we do that, let me go ahead and rebase because we are a few thousand commits behind. So let's do a fun rebase. I'm still in this habit of, so before we did these merged results stuff, we would pick a good commit to rebase on top of. I'm still in this habit of doing that. And I realize every time I look at the commits and copy a hash, I don't need to do this, but it's too late now. And I've wasted time explaining why I did this.
That makes sense, actually.
Well, I don't need to do it anymore, like because of the merged results stuff. But anyways, all right.
But you're double sure that it's a good commit then.
Right. Yeah. All right, so here we are. We've rebased this, and now we want to move this over. So have you used the Jest script, Jackie?
I used it, but I didn't use it for this because I kind of use it and then I do it myself and then I use it later and see what I missed. That's how I've been.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So I like to do it. I like to do it first. So I'll move. Yeah, I'll move all of it over. Oh yeah, I can just move it to here.
Cool. And then
the Jest script actually runs in place. So I move the file over first, and then I have the Jest code mod as a separate project that I have checked out. So I'm going to pull the latest from this project. And if you read the README, it gives you some instructions on how to run it.
Yeah, and then you run it pointing to the other direction.
So yeah, what's important to do is that it runs from here. So you use JS code shifts, you use index as the transform. We could probably put this in a package JSON script, but anyways. It's really important to pass in the parser as well. I forgot that because
I remember this now, the parser babel.
Yeah, some weird reason it's in the README, and then you do the path to the to what you're wanting to transform. So we go to the spec, front end, view MR widget, and then we can't specify a whole directory, but here we just have a single file, so you can also just throw that in there, and it'll do its thing. It says 1 OK, great. I think if I add these, I can see the changes now. If I stage them.
Look at it, yeah. See what
lots of stuff.
Can you plug this in?
So one of the one of the things that needs to change that's in our transformer is the timer is stubbed out. So we can't do set timeout for some of these. What we really should be doing is probably the wait for the next tick. But we have a simple search and replace thing that looks for calls to set timeout and replaces it with set immediate. So it looks like there's a handful of those. It's changing our spy on API for the Jest spy on API.
Just, yep.
A lot of the set timeout stuff. There's one little thing, but down here. Okay, all right. What do you think? Do you think it's gonna pass?
It looks convincing that it got everything.
I don't know. I would be surprised, but I hope so.
Surprise.
Oh, I'm in the wrong folder. Okay. All right. The reason for those watching in television land, the reason we have to go to the JS CodeShift folder so that it doesn't load the node modules of our GitLab project, because it uses apparently we use core.js as well, and there's some version conflicts between those two.
Okay.
All right. Okay, here we go. Oh man, what are you doing? Oh, it's really thinking hard right now. Okay, all right. So another thing that we have to do here as well is we have spec as an alias for the top level karma directory. And Jest, it's just, well, I think we put a lot of these things inside helpers. So helpers is an alias for that that we can use instead. Yeah, here's one that says EE spec. I don't think we have one of those in, I don't think we have that alias in the Jest world.
Oh, we did. I think I've seen that one.
Let's go ahead and check it out. That's a good question. Let's see. If we go to Jest config, we should see these aliases. So we have Jest. You see, it takes us to the root directory spec front end.
EE.
I see we have
EE component. That's the one.
Okay. Oh, we have EE Jest. We do. That's great. All right, let's do EE Jest.
I thought I'd used that one before.
Nice. I learned something. Okay. Failed to run probably because oh, did it actually save it? Are we still having a hard time finding it? It says EE spec here, but I changed it to EE Jest. Let's try to run it again. Maybe it didn't like. Okay, we probably don't even have this file though there yet. So let's double check that. So here I am. I'm gonna go to security reports. Yeah, see, it's not even here. That's gonna be a fun thing to do. So that's no problem. We want Jest to be the single source of truth for these kind of things. So the thing to do is basically to move this file from Karma to Jest. But that should raise some alarms because there's probably other Karma files pointing to this mock data file. So we need to, rather than totally move it, Karma is going to point to Jest now.
Oh, to put that in import export in the Karma directory and point it. Okay, I think I've seen that trick.
Yeah.
It's cool to watch it done.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so here we go. We're going to go to security reports. Okay, great. Let's go find that. I think I'm just gonna copy it over. Or should I move it over? No, copy it. Well, let me go ahead and find it. Security reports, mock data. What? It says you're already here.
Oh, it's the directory you just created, right? And then did you create one under Jest?
I did, you're right.
Yeah.
But why does it say I already have a file here? So this is the, oh, this is under view shared. Oh, it shouldn't be under view shared. Because this, oh, this one is under view shared.
View shared. It's not nested under security reports, though.
Yeah. So what was this doing? This was, what is this looking for? Oh, this is looking for eJest view shared security reports mock data. Oh, so that already lives there. I shouldn't have created a folder. Yeah, I can delete this folder. I don't need it. I am going to, for some reason it's not finding it. It might be our alias's fault. I'm gonna just relative jump there.
Okay.
By going up a directory should be good. Okay, let's try it again. What is wrong?
I thought there was only a mock data under.
Oh, there's another reference to it. Oh, thank you.
EE spec.
Well, it's right here. Like we don't even need to be doing a. It should just be right here.
Right there.
Yeah. All right. All right. I don't think it passed.
That's not good, is it?
So one could look at this and be like, all right, they all failed. I'm out. But I'd rather see them all fail than just some of them fail, because if they all fail, they're probably all failing for the same reason, which is exciting, or which is helpful. So we are using, what's the reason they're failing is because it looks like we're making some requests that we weren't actually expecting to make. So here I see that we are adding our Axios mock adapter, and we are looking for these paths, but I don't know if those are necessarily the paths that we want. So just to make our console a little bit more readable, I'm gonna just lock in on one spec
I see.
using fit. Okay. All right. So we have an unexpected mock request. Somewhere. So this is going to be nice to fix.
Consider using Axios mock adapter.
And we should be like up here we are in our before each, we're creating it. So I would think that it should be there. Let's check out. Here we are. This is interesting, and I wonder where that's coming from. Given that this might be a hard-coded path, given that we are like importing from some of these mock data things. Yeah, this merge request widget path. Are we watching this thing? Let's see. We are. So what's your problem? When are we watching it? Oh, no, wait. Oh, wait. When are we watching it? Are we watching it? No, this is just view.extend. We haven't actually mounted it or anything. Here we actually mounted. What do you all think? Why do you think mock adapter is not doing its thing?
Can you go back to the mock on get? Oh no, you are on it. Sorry.
Well, yeah, it looks like we're doing a couple of mock on gets here. Then over here we do a mock on get. Let me console log this path, because maybe we're not actually setting up this path like we think we are.
Okay.
Widget path.
Oh, widget path is set.
This root one, and that looks right. Okay, here's the other situation that could be happening as well. We could be, let me get rid of mock restore here. This component could not be cleaning itself up. Yes, okay.
What?
Yeah,
What? How did
that's how I feel too. So our components, some of these older components are not, they are notorious for not cleaning themselves up nicely, which means after our test has run, then we've made our Axios call when we actually should have been destroying this and cleaning it up and not running.
So interestingly, the output, I'll put it in the chat, of running the suite locally was, whoops, copy.
I'm trying to find the chat.
It failed. Why can't I? It's not letting me paste it into the Zoom chat. It failed in the same sort of way in that merge train position indicator thing. Paste in the Zoom chat. But it failed in the after all, like the entire sweep path. It failed in an after all, but that error that looked the same as the actual test failure on CI. So that sounds like it's like something's not up, and then it eventually fails, but in the non-deterministic time.
Yeah. That's interesting. Okay. Yeah. All right. So let's dive into that and see when we're making this request to merge request widget path. See if we are cleaning ourselves up well or not. We have a cool.
So do you still need to clean or restore mocks in Jest at all? What is it actually doing?
These like mock data stuff?
Well, what did you need the restore mocks or the line you commented out for?
That is a really good question. That is making sure that, so Jest is going to sandbox individual test files, but the individual tests are not sandboxed from each other. And that's what we want to do. We want to set up a mock for one spec, but then another spec is going to make, like, I want this mock value. And if we don't clean ourselves up in between actual individual tests, we could run into test setups being coupled to each other, and now the run order of tests makes a difference, and that's something we want to avoid.
I didn't know that. I assumed it was like ours where everything was completely isolated between every example.
Nicely, yeah, no. No, yeah, it seems like cleaning up after ourselves is something that continues to be a challenge. And
I mean, we're quarantined now. It's not that.
I know. That's what you think is, hey, now that we're quarantined, we don't really have to wash our hands, but I'm just joking. Okay. Anyways, so here we have a cool method, fetch initial data. Let's see what this thing gets called. Fetch initial data. Okay, over here in the CE merge request options, when we call it. Okay.
Where is it showing your path? I'm not a VS Code user. Like, where's the absolute path of the thing you're looking at that I can
have it set to actually show up here.
Okay, at the top of the window.
And it includes my home directory and stuff. I could also hover over this and it'll show it, or over here, like here's the folder of it.
Okay.
If you have two of the same file name, then it'll start post fixing it at the end. I end up right clicking and doing copy relative path like all the time. Like if I'm looking at a file and I'm gonna run it locally or like run on my terminal, whatever, I copy the path like that. Yeah, there might be better ways. I don't have any better ways. I wonder if it's hitting it at all. Like, I wonder if I did a 500 here, like, is it hitting it the first time? Is it a second request that it's causing to blow up? Okay, I don't think it's hitting it at all here. That's interesting.
So you still have the cleanup commented?
I do still have it commented. So here
So
we
what's thinking of how you're approaching debugging it right now with that commented? What question you trying to answer?
Well, what I was trying to answer was, are we hitting it at all? So if I like 500 this, I would expect something to fail. Like mounting it should have failed. Because I guess I would have been, where would I have been? Where was I? Oh yeah. Oh, I guess we would have just catched something and created a flash. So maybe I guess it wasn't gonna fail. Let's then see. I'm really curious to see. I don't even know if we're hitting these in the first place. That's what I want to know. Because if we're not hitting them in the first place, then I need to. Then I know it's this unmounted thing that I need to be concerned about. But if it's like okay, yeah, we're not even hitting them in the first place. So yeah, just now I'm a little paranoid. So double check. Why did this fail? Oh, it failed because I'm setting up. Oh, my mock's up here. All right, I want to get rid of all my mocks and see, am I actually hitting anything here? And I think not, because I think I need to do some sort of weighting. Let's see though. I could be. Okay, yeah, I am actually. Oh, but here I hit like some SAST endpoint and some vulnerability endpoint. What's happening here? This is really weird.
So those are the 2 mocks, right?
Those are these 2 mocks. Why am I not hitting this one? Why do I not hit those until later? And it might be because of some weird CE, like that we're extending this component technically in EE. I have no idea what could be the situation there. Sorry about that. Yeah, what's going on? Do we have an unmounted thing here? Do we do a mounted fallback? I don't see. What do we call these vulnerability ones? Is this in this mixin? Let's see. Please stop me if I'm going down an uninteresting path, and if you feel like, no, that's not what we call that stuff.
I think it's all very interesting. I'm just glad it wasn't as straightforward as.
So your theory is that
I thought worse than straightforward.
your theory is that more like one of the EE like extensions got executed in the Karma world, but now it's not, or something like that?
Well, so you're bringing up a good question. In Karma, we don't fail. If we make a real request, we won't fail. There's some 404 that gets thrown out and we don't worry about it, and it slows down our suite.
Okay.
In Jest, we fail. If we try to make an unmocked request, we're gonna blow up. So
this may have nothing to do with those 2 mocks that you commented in before. It's just something that's always been happening, but now is being prevented from just not allowing real requests.
Yeah, and that's
okay.
Yeah, that's.
So we need a new mock, maybe.
Well, what's really concerning is when I get rid of when I don't restore that we're good. That's what's really concerning, I think.
Even when you're focused.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. What is happening after the test ends to make it fail?
Yeah, the one thing we will do is we will like run all timers after every spec. We have that as like a global thing, is we run all pending timers. And so if something is like waiting or polling, then we'll try to hit it as an emphasis that you really needed to clean yourself up. Because if we don't have these, because if we didn't do that, we didn't have specs failing then like this, then we'd have specs actually bumping into each other. And sure, it's contained in one file, but they're still bumping into each other. That's what we want to avoid. And it looks like this in Karma had some stuff like that happening. So if I add these back, this is going to fail because these are commented out.
Yeah, I think you need those, don't you?
Yeah, we do need these. That is a good call. Yeah, we do need these. If I add these back,
It
that's
should
not,
pass. Could we see the error again when it is doing? Wait, it failed. I thought this was when it was passing.
I did it fail. Oh, this is my fault. I'm sorry. I
Oh, that too. Okay.
Yeah, that'll do.
So this should pass. Could we look again at what the error is on when the restore is there?
Yeah. Well, oh yeah, this should pass. So you want to put the restore back.
Like now that I'm getting more context, like so based on what you're just saying, to echo it back, something is happening in the after each that is attempting to make a call that we don't have mocked. So, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what is that?
Yep.
It's a get for what?
The one is a get for something that's not set, it seems like, because we don't have a URL here. It's a little concerning. One is a get to this, and that is this path, which we should be mocking here.
Is it exactly the same? Or is it
Let's see.
is it trying to match on something more than just the URL?
It's a good question. Let's see.
Get.
So there's that. If I go back to here.
You logged it out.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Thanks. Sorry about that. Yeah, it looks the same.
Identical. And then all that the mock matches on is the URL and the method.
Yeah.
Is there parameters or?
You could do like on any, but we are replying.
That one's not.
We're not doing like a reply once or something. So.
What's up with the other one that doesn't even have a URL? Where is that coming from?
I think
Is there a
this cached one. Let's check. I think it's coming from this cache widget path. I'm not really sure what this means. This is what's fun about dealing with code like this is like it's always new. No, that's not it. I have no idea what this is. What could be causing that? I don't know.
Is there a central place where we can log whatever is happening in the after to get more information about where it's coming from?
We could probably add something to our Axios to log when we're actually calling that thing.
Just get the stack trace.
Yeah, I want to do some console logs. Can I console log? Because this is when we actually call that fetch data thing. I want to see when do we call mounted. And then I want to see. Mounted callback. I'm going to do a. I probably could have just added this to the end of all of the stuff, but oh well. Mounted. Okay, I want to see that. And I want to see when do we call after each. Something tells me there's a different way to debug than using console logs, but I'm still learning it, obviously.
The integrated Jest debugger in RubyMine is really nice.
Oh man, are you gonna sell me on RubyMine? I hear good things about having a full-fledged IDE. I haven't made that leap yet, though. This is it. This is what I was thinking was, well, is this it? Here we call we've called mounted, and then we've hit after each. But then later we call our mounted callback. That's interesting. I have an idea to fix all of this. Let me see if I just get rid of this, let me see what happens. Yeah, I lost something. Started searching my file thing. Okay. Yeah, let me just replace this with a promise. This is not an asynchronous request or whatever. Let's see what happens. This is the issue then, right?
What was that before a promise?
It was this call. Yeah. Situation I think that's happening is yeah, I think we end up calling fetch initial data. We end up not calling this right away. Oh, because it's a promise.all. Is that even related to it though? No, that shouldn't be quite related to it. For some reason, it's not being called right away. So I have a hypothetical fix. We can make our after each asynchronous, and we can return something like wait for promises, and then do these things. We have a little helper that should wait for the different promises to flesh out. So this is my Hail Mary fix. It is not ideal, but I really don't know what else. We could keep trying to chip away at this, but yeah, that's gonna fix it. Or is
So
it?
what about that promise always not resolving? So the promise all in the where was that? In the
Yeah, maybe the promise all where I can't quite hear you. You're breaking up a little bit. Are you right here?
yeah, that's in fetch initial data.
Yeah, something about this. There's a race condition, I think, where these Axios requests were getting triggered, but we were also tearing down mock Axios adapter at the same time. So we blew up. So my hypothesis is let's wait for promises first. The other idea is we could wait because there's a downside kind of with that because it's going to slow down our whole test suite because every test we're going to wait for everything to flush, which we should probably, which we're kind of doing it with the timer thing anyways. So it's probably fine. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think this is a problematic fix, or do you think the other idea would be we can create the component and then wait, which I think we're trying to do with this set timeout stuff that are peppered throughout the spec anyways. What do you all think? Is Jackie still here? Oh no, I just see a wall.
Yeah, she stepped away for a while back. So there's this trade-off between, like, you could just globally always wait on promises in every after all, right? But you're saying that would slow things down a lot. So we compromise for speed by not having that happen, but sometimes you're doing things with Axios that end up being synchronous because of that, and they fight with each other.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just thinking, is there some holistic way to fix this once and for all?
Yeah. Once and for all.
Without it, well, it would be like, always wrap everything in a wait for promises every after, like hack the implementation of it or something, but you're saying that would really slow things down.
The my preferred way of fixing it would be asynchronous calls and mounted are we are known for not doing like,
This isn't mounted. Okay.
yeah, that's gonna
I was
cause,
thinking we were in the spec still with this.
right, no, this asynchronous call inside mounted that of the parent component, and maybe this is a view test utils behavior too of how this component gets made. I don't really know. This is
So
interesting.
stepping back, if this were a dumb component and just had its stuff passed down to it, then we wouldn't have this problem at all, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think it's comes with it. So I hesitate to do this for every spec because we shouldn't have a whole lot of specs that do this, and I'd rather have them blow up at first. But for these ones that we're migrating over from Karma, maybe we just pick up a technical debt issue to, remove this and figure out a different way of doing it besides this. And I'm fine with maybe taking an iterative approach and seeing, hey, maybe this solves a lot of our problems. So let's see what other specs fail now. What do you think? Oh, I should get rid of this. Oh man. Okay. Yeah, you see. Okay. Well, now there's only 5 failed specs. That's pretty good. It's really good. Yeah, I might opt for just creating a to-do on fixing cleaning things up, but leaving it like this. Yeah, we should move all of this to view test utils too. And yeah, that's the thing too. I said view test utils, but this isn't even using that. This is using our funky manual mount component thing. So I think we should leave it. And then when we move it all to view test utils, we should revisit it holistically. But this is a long spec. It has taken 11 seconds. Oh man.
Do you want to explain to Jackie what the problem was?
Yeah, just maybe sum up how you solved all those.
I think you got it right before we figured it out.
Yeah, what we had done was we added. So this was. I was hoping not to have to do this, but we're gonna wait for all of our requests to finish before we clean things up. So we're gonna. So what we could do is destroy right away. That would be nice. We could destroy, then wait for all of our promises to finish, and then clean things up.
I think mock restore was happening before it was supposed to happen.
Yeah, that's what was happening. But it's not necessarily the mock. In my opinion, it's that our component has code that's lasting after we've destroyed it. That's really scary. That bothers me.
Yep.
But moving these things to Jest is a priority, and I'd rather see us move to Jest. This is my personal opinion. I'm fine if it's a little slow, and then we just maybe iterate on it and rewrite it using view test utils, and we can make all of this faster that way.
So the pattern or anti-pattern to watch out for if this happens again is a promise being done in a view component lifecycle callback like mounted.
Yeah, and
promise being created.
Yeah, and if you do one, here's the other approach. And if we were going to do it, another way of doing this would be when we create it. When we create our component, let's wait for all promises. We could do that, and that would be nice. And so we could do that on our before each.
You mean in the test? Wait for it.
When we have like our when it is loading, I think this is kind of expecting it to not be already done. Just for fun, let's see what that would look like, because we're talking about it. If you're cool with that. So the idea is we could either wait for promises in the after each, or I think we could actually wait for promises in the before each. Is the idea. But man, this is a long spec now, and I don't know how. Yeah, okay, we're gonna blow up and everything. All right, that's fine. Okay. All right, I got it. Yeah, we could do this in our before each. Wait, but that's not where we create a component. Ah, that's not what I meant to do. Okay, what we'd have to do is, okay, because we don't have a method that's actually mounting this, like that's consolidating, mounting this component, we'd have to do it in like every one of these, or only the ones that need it. That's the other approach. So rather than doing all of that, I was kind of wanting to just do it in once in the after each and call it a day. I thought, for some reason, I thought we were actually mounting a component here, but we're not. And that's a good thing because now we can mount it with specific properties and stuff. But the other approach would be, let's wait for promises here. After I mount it, let's wait for promises. After I mount it, let's wait for promises. But while I'm already touching everything, let's just move it all over to view test details. All of this sounds like out of scope to actually just plucking something from Karma and dropping it into Jest. So
Okay.
that's my.
So when you do this, do you open a new issue to say, clean up this spec to view test details? You do that?
Yep, I would do that, and I would even do that and drop a link to that issue on top of this wait for promises and say, like, don't do this. Like, we're just doing this because this was moved from Karma. We're going to clean it up in this issue because people are going to copy code. And when someone sees, oh, how do I fix this problem? They're going to look at this code and be like, oh, I just need to add wait for promises after each. And that's going to cause issues. But we can, I think we can wrap this up in 5 minutes. Do you all have 5 minutes?
Yeah.
All right, let's see what this next one is. CI widget renders the branch and the pipeline widget. Oh, and it's because I think it's because to contain HTML is not a thing. Oh gosh. Oh no, oh no. Why is this blowing up? It's blowing up because these specs are like bumping into each other now. I'm a little sad. So I isolated this spec. Do I have any other weird changes that I left behind here? I don't think so. Yeah. So I isolated this spec. Prettier did something. But now it seems like the spec was using something. Yeah. Now it seemed like the spec was using something that why was this what was failing on before? Let's see. Man, this is a long spec. Yeah, so, okay. So I'm now extra concerned about all this.
Yeah, so it was depending on something that had gotten created by a previous
Yeah.
are they called examples in Jest?
What'd you say?
The it's called examples in Jest, like our spec.
That's a good question. I call them. I make the phrase distinction with spec file and spec, and maybe that's not right. So examples make sense. Tests, I don't know.
Okay,
But
anyway.
there's now the file is bumping into itself, which is concerning. Why is it saying?
So when you ran it focus, what was undefined?
Yeah, let's do a little bit of investigation, but I don't know. What do you all think? Do you think that it's a good call to, should we fix these problems or should we just move it to Jest? Like, what would you all suggest doing?
Depending on how big the fix is.
Yeah.
You know?
I
But we don't know unless we dig in, right?
This is true. Yeah, this is a good point. Cannot read property merge request cached widget path of undefined. Oh gosh, oh gosh, oh gosh. Oh no.
Undefined.
This is that same stuff. It's the same test setup, saving, async thing. And it's because we're not doing a wait for promises after we actually mount the component.
Oh, right.
Okay.
So if you added a wait for promises after this, it would work.
I think we can do the wait for promises after the component. Let's do that. Okay.
Everyone that needs it will do it.
We might need to do it for a bunch of them, but I think we can do this. All right, here's how we're gonna do it. And I think it's worth maybe going over. Okay, everybody's failing, that's great. I'm gonna just run this one. We're gonna get rid of this thing. We can do this wait for promises for each one. We're gonna create a test. We're gonna create a create component helper.
Let's see where you're going with this. This
Thing.
sounds
And then we're gonna mount the component. Yep, and we'll just take in props. This looks like all we're taking.
cool.
So we're gonna call mount component props. Okay, and then then we're gonna return a wait for promises here. Great. Does that look right?
Oh, yeah, this sounds, I like this.
Okay.
This is cool.
All right, let's do it. So this kind of create component helper, love seeing it. Like all of our best specs have something like this. It seems, I like pure functions. They don't write to shared variables, but it makes everything super readable. And now I can add the destroy if we have a shared variable this thing actually writes to. The only thing I'd really raise a flag on is please make sure we only create the component once per example. Because if you created one at like a top level before each, and I created down here, as we see, components sometimes have side effects, and like this example. So we want to make sure if you were really cautious, you would do something like if them like throw, or I would throw like don't do this, and then we would, after destroying it, I would do them equals null. Like we only want to make sure we only have one of these per spec. Like that's, anyways. I'm now ranting about a personal pet peeve, and I shouldn't be doing that right
No, I've read that in one of the docs as well. I'm assuming you added it there.
now. Maybe. Maybe. Let's see. So we're going to create the component, and then, all right, man, this is taking so long. Okay, but what we want to do now here is we're going to return. We could put this in a before each and make it, well, yeah, let's do it in before each because it'll make it really, really readable. So we're gonna do before each, boom, boom, mock, nope, nope. Return, create component. Oh, yeah, and let's fit this and see what happens. What?
That's an error in your create component.
Yes, because I'm not passing this thing in. And we don't actually need, I don't know why we're storing this in a, I do not know why we're storing this in like a variable thing. Oh, well, maybe we'll just figure it out. But yeah, it's because I won't worry about that part. It's because we didn't pass the component part in. What? Oh gosh. Yes, and I thought this would happen. Okay, for this one that does loading, I don't want to wait because we want to see did it actually load or not. So what we're going to do here is we are actually going to yeah, let's just call mount component on that. We could figure out a different way of doing this, but oh well. So here I'm just going to call them out. I'm going to, this one bit of when we're loading, I'm going to have to do a little differently. Am I missing something? Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah, I need to pass component here. Boom. All right. What we just discovered. Oh, and I am missing I'm missing the thing I'm supposed to pass in. If I didn't catch that last time. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Yes, all of this stuff I need to pass in there. Return, create component, passing in all of this stuff. Oh no, did I copy the wrong thing? That's disappointing. No, oh gosh, okay, I'm sorry about that. And come on, come on. Here we go. All right, it's in. Great. But the one kicker is that we don't want to wait for promises here because this is to test if we're actually loading. So it was kind of taking advantage of this. This individual spec of when it is loading was taking advantage of the asynchronousness of things.
Don't you still have the wait for promises in the create component?
But how is it avoiding that?
So we're actually going to just do, I would suggest we could just do mount component here, or we can decouple wait for promises from create component. Do you
No,
think?
it makes sense to just do the mount component like it used to be, right?
Yeah, so I would just do the regular mount component here, like we used to have it, and then say,
And that's the only one that needs that.
this is here because we want to check. And it's loading. But then down here, after we've actually ran it, we'll do a return, wait for promises or something. For stuff, async calls to finish. It will blow. All right, yeah. And then all the other ones, when we're not loading, we should be good to go. And we shouldn't even need the set immediate thing anymore. That'll help speed up our tests. So here, let's move our, oh gosh. Yeah. So let's get rid of this thing. I'm gonna add force in this one, and we want to do return, create component. I shouldn't need this set immediate anymore. It's gonna be really nice. Look, we're already 100 lines in. Great, that one's good to go.
So it's strange that like the state of the promise is what you have to look at for the test, as opposed to just like say don't resolve the Axios, or don't resolve one Axios request for this particular request.
And right, and there's ways that we could improve that, and I think it would require rewriting
Rewriting the code.
Maybe not necessarily the code, but like you can mock Axios mock adapter. You can have a callback that doesn't ever resolve. Like you could do things there, but when it comes to these Jest things, I want to do the most profitable thing. To help it move as quickly as possible. Me personally, some people like they go all out and they go ahead and move it to view test utils and they make the test really nice. So I have a confession, and I kind of feel guilty about this. But I was really hoping to have the Jest is finished by contribute. And now I think it will be, because before I was like, when it was in April, I was like, oh man, I don't think it's going to happen. But now I think it actually will be finished by contribute, which might be like next year or something, because our contribute got canceled. So I don't know if I inadvertently had anything to do with it. For where I create the.
So this is when it is loading, so it's going to be the same sort of thing.
Is it really?
I mean, the describe says when it is loading, so I assume.
Oh, you're right. Oh, you're right. Okay.
So just put it before each for all of these in that whole when it is loading, just like you did the other one. I don't know why this isn't with the other.
You're asking a good
Shouldn't
question.
all the when it is loading be grouped together and then just move them all in there and maybe they work with the stuff
But
you
this
already
one's
have?
like doing special dependency scanning setup. That's another really interesting topic. Is like how do you organize your specs? I personally don't like to get like super domain heavy with these unit tests. Like I'll like drop in like, when this prop is this, like I like to organize based on the state of my component.
Yeah, it's the smell that it's not cohesive enough because like whatever, decouple the concept of loading and how that's presented to another component that just does that, and this one
Right.
doesn't care about it.
This one is failing because it says it took too long. That's weird. I don't really have a solution for that. I would rather dependency scanning. Trying to say to we can pass a function in here. I think we could do this. I think we can do this. Let's see if that changes anything. But then we can call our create. We can call our
Create component.
Yeah. It says loading resulted in the error. Oh wait. Oh, this one actually worked. The loading indicator. Let's see what that's all about.
Yeah, 195 is, or now 196 is returning a custom response.
Yeah, so that should be fine. Oh, this isn't working at all. All right, forget that. And I think the long spec isn't great because it means it'll fail locally on someone's computer. Our timeout is longer in CI than it is locally because we don't want lots of flakiness in CI.
What is happening that's taking long?
I don't know. Oh, I gotta fix this. Oh, now it's passing. I'm gonna pretend I didn't see it take a long time. Okay, we're good. All right. It's green. I'm not gonna look back. Let's go to the next one. Boom. Code quality. Speaking of code quality.
This one was failing too?
I've been forcing them one to scribe at a time. So I imagine it is because we're using the, oh my gosh, when it is loading. Is this the only one that's failing? Where did my, it looks like a whole bunch of them are failing. I lost my my logging. But I guess here we want to do kind of the same thing where, oh, here we're actually doing like a next tick. Is this one doing okay? Let me get rid of this. I think I need to get rid of this one. Okay. Yeah, so it's making some requests, and it might be that we're not returning a. So I think the wait for all promises thing, I don't really know. So let's do a next tick, and then that, and then we'll do a wait for promises after that. Let's see if that helps with this one. Oh, and I gotta get rid of the done thing. Oh no, I got rid of the whole spec. Okay.
You don't have to call wait for promises as a function.
I'm supposed to pass a function into here as the callback. So I'm saying wait for promises is the callback.
Okay.
Still doesn't like it because it took too long. It's gonna have to just deal. I think it doesn't like it when I isolate these specs because maybe there's a lot of setup time for something, and that's probably. Oh, and so now it worked. Okay, great. That was perfect. Okay, so I was hoping it would work. So let's look for our other calls to mount component. So with perfect. With a successful request, yes. Okay. So what we want to do is, oh yeah. Oh gosh, look at this. Look at this. Oh, this is on a before each. Great. Okay. So here I want to do return create component. You're right. Thanks. Boom. Boom. Great. And then we're gonna do then.
Should search for when it is loading.
What'd you say?
Search for the rest of the when it is loadings.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, I'm kind of being optimistic and hoping I
Just
can
keep
run
going
into it.
one by one. I think you're getting it.
All right, but then I think I can also get rid of the set immediates. Great, these pass. Hooray. Nope. Nope. Gosh, my Vim fingers are tripping me up right now. Oh, this one's interesting. Oh, I guess, like, go ahead. No, I'll go ahead and get rid of it. Because so in Jest, we can return promises. So we don't need to use the done callback anymore because we nicely return promises.
What was set immediate supposed to be doing?
Set immediate was used, I think, to wait for promises. That's what, before we were using a set timeout. And I think that was used to try to wait for Axios to finish doing its thing, which should have been a code smell that something's not right happening here. But now we're using wait for promises instead, which technically could call like set immediate. I don't really know what it's doing under the hood right now. We'll see. Looks like something is not happy with something. I think I have one too many of these or too few of these. Let me open up this file. It's hard to see when it's diffed like this. Where's this one matched? This one's matched. Oh, yeah, I do have too many of these. Or I have too few of these. Oh, right. Because I can do this and I want to return this. Okay. What? Oh gosh. Should render provided data? Do I need to do a next tick here?
That looks like the opposite. It's receiving the loading, but unexpected the actual one.
I think, right. I wonder if after doing all of this, I should have been returning a next tick. The view does its updating, maybe. Oh gosh. I'm not a happy camper anymore. Well, that was unfortunate. Um, we've been pairing for an hour and a half now, really close. But I think we can do some retro and takeaways, and I'll update our MR asynchronously after going through this and debugging these issues. If you want to hang on, we can see this and try to unravel this to the end, but also want to give you guys a chance to hop off.
I mean, I have nowhere to go. I mean,
Okay.
I am getting pulled away every once in a while, but
Yeah, I'm
feel
fine.
we're really close. There's not a lot of lines left in this file, right?
Yeah, I feel like we're close. At the same time, I look here at the scroll bar. I think there's like, where are we? Yeah, I think this is an 1,000-line spec.
Oh, never mind. We have 700 lines to go. Okay. Okay.
But how do you all feel about, so we got really, really, really close when we put the wait for all things in the before each.
In the after each, you mean?
Oh, you're right. We did it in the after each. Do you feel like that was a better approach, or do you think doing this cleanup is gonna make things nicer? And do you feel like we're doing something profitable right now?
I do, but I don't remember why we left from the after each and started. There was a reason.
It was because it was breaking the ones that were loading because they couldn't.
So we can't have it in the after each unless we get rid of it from.
So the challenge was with loading ones. That's the challenge, was putting it on the create component. But what we noticed is when we isolated the failing specs, they were blowing up. And it's because they were dependent on these other ones having ran already, or that they're asynchronously getting set up or something. And so we were trying to now go through each one and make sure deterministically, like if we isolated it, it's going to run and is not depending on something else being run first. That's what we found when we ran the whole, when we did it on the after each, it seemed like the components were dependent on other tests being run. I don't know if that's still going to be the case or not, and it might not be. It might still be the case even if we do it before each, or like here in the create component. So, but I feel like this is a huge file. It's going to be a lot harder for a reviewer to review that all this went through. Like if we're touching all of this, we need to move it all over to view test utils. So it's not easy for us to change an 1,000-line spec. If we're gonna change it, maybe we should just move it all to view test utils rather than going through line by line like this. I don't know. What would your all suggestions or?
So you're thinking that if we moved it to view test utils, it would be less work than what we're doing?
Overall, it'd be less work because I wouldn't have to do this. Because it would be, I'd only have to do one pass of an 1,000-line spec file rather than we're going to try to fix this little bit, then we'll have to fix this little bit, and then we're going to move it all to view test utils.
So what would the fixes for the ones that are dependent upon the loading promise not being resolved? What would those look like in a view test utils world?
And that's a really good question. It might be, I don't really know what moving this to view test utils would look like. It might not look any different.
Like we might still, maybe the right fix is in these two, do like you said, and the loading ones have more sophisticated Axios mocks to actually make them look like what happens in reality that they're trying to test, that the promise is not resolved.
That would be the right thing to do, not just hook into some sort of race condition. And yeah, that would be the right thing to do.
It seems like there's, if we had there's not that many of them, the loading state ones. I mean, they're a small percentage of the total ones.
Yeah, let's see. Let's do a search for loading. One, two, three. Yeah, it's a small percentage, but there's still like
A lot.
10-ish of them maybe. We should probably also break up this component as well. Like the fact that there's 1,000, like there's so many red flags going on, and we just wanted to move it to Jest. Yeah, there's lots of different ways I think we can go about it. I think either way, here's another benefit to moving it to Jest. If we move this to Jest, then we know this isn't going to bump into any other karma specs. So that, in my eyes, increases the profitability of the cost of not cleaning everything up. So I would support just moving it to Jest, you putting the thing in the after each. Say we started going down this route, but let's create another follow-up issue to clean this up, because it does need some attention on that. We could do it in another pairing session, or we can kind of hope that a community contributor picks it up. And but I think I'm going to revert what we've done, just put in the after each as just a small step forward in the right direction.
And then do what with the loadings?
The loadings were still working. It wasn't that. It was, they were, and I can go back. Let's undo so much. Okay. Let's go back to where we were at.
So back to the after each, and then.
Now that I'm undoing so much, I kind of feel like maybe I should have committed something. Uh-oh, something's up. Oh no, I'm not typing anymore. It's going ahead of me.
There, that was it.
Oh, this is it. Okay. Yeah, so we're gonna do wait for promises. Here. Right, and yeah, we don't have the create component helper anymore. Yep, so the only ones that are failing are these things, and it's just because they're using matchers that don't actually exist in the Jest world, for whatever reason. So we only have 5 failures, but the reason we went down this whole approach is, so yeah, tracking back, when I focused on one of these failures, it blew up with a different error. And the kind of error was like, hey, we couldn't find this property of this undefined value. Yeah. And that smells like, oh no, like this spec was dependent on another spec running before. That's what we were trying to fix by, I think if we did the wait for promises on the create component level, we won't have this coupling. But I kind of feel like we need to address a lot of this holistically, because it's really, we probably need to address it by splitting up the component. So I'd rather do this rather than just looking at the spec and saying, what can we fix in the spec? I'd almost rather say, what can we pull out of here into a separate component? And then let's move that bit into its own spec. And then we'll slowly shrink that. This is kind of I'd call this a God class. Like this is a code smell where we have some sort of huge manager trying to manage lots of things.
So you're suggesting you clean up the actual view widget, and that way the tests get separated.
Yeah. That will probably save us a bit of time too. So really interesting stuff. Another thing we could do, and I like this approach a lot, is move this out of the mountain. I think this is a top level component. Let's just call it in our, right before we set up our store, whatever we're setting up, let's call our fetch data. And that makes this way easier to test. If we move
But it calls init widget. Is that init widget is in here?
This fetch initial data thing.
Oh, line 151, init widget. Does that live
you're right.
in this component? So you can't pull it out.
Yeah, so here's the deal, like, so here's the thing with this pattern. Like, this whole component seems like it's not even viable unless this passes. which tells me like maybe we shouldn't like maybe these should be props. I imagine these are now data attributes or something. And like she tells me, why am I even letting this component exist if it hasn't passed? Like this really is like a responsibility to whoever is creating me rather than me. And that's why these like top level, very like godlike manager components are really hard to test. I would think of maybe starting, if we were going to start refactoring this, I would think about pulling that out and saying, where do we import mr widget options.view? And it's over here in this index and this is how we mount it. Yeah. So why are we not fetching up here? That's my question. That would make it way easier to test. And now I'm just testing based on props. So that would be my first suggestion to cleaning that up. Yeah, interesting problems. Hey, Jackie, this was a really good problem that we ran into.
I'm so glad it was actually a confusing problem because I've been stuck on this for 4 weeks.
Oh man, well, yeah. Usually I try to at least an hour and a half, which should have green checks everywhere, but I wasn't able to get there today. But
that's awesome. I learned way more with
okay. Well, I'll update that MR. I'll post this video on GitLab Unfiltered and include that MR there too. But thanks, Jackie, and thanks, Chad, for hopping on. This was super helpful. And I think there's a follow-up issue to be made here as well, and I'll create that. But thanks. This was fun. You guys have a great rest of your day.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
See you.